Hey everybody, welcome back to Jimvitational 2 opening round. This is a match that I am excited about because when I looked at it, I'm like, man, there can be no winner in this scenario, no matter what happens. I mean, either she, Kristyl, loses to an 11-year-old, humiliating, or he, Fruhdazi, loses to a girl. Ugh. Either way, there could be no winner in this matchup. In all seriousness, I really respect both these players. I've been high on Kristyl for years, and I have sung her praises for years. She absolutely deserves a spot in Jimvitational 2, and I'm really glad she was invited. I really think she's capable, really in any old gen tier, but certainly in ADV as well, and could beat anybody in this tournament. Whereas Fruhdazi, for as much of a hard time as I've given him, and as much as I feel like some of the criticisms with him being one-dimensional, being a one-trick pony, that kind of thing, there is some validity to that. I think that he has expanded to some extent and looked good during this past SPL and is a better player than he was this time 1 year ago. So these are two of the better players in the tournament, in my opinion, and I'm very much looking forward to this matchup. I really don't have a prediction as to who's going to win, but excited for this, and Kristyl is not going to be afraid at all of Shitrock Enjoyer, that's Fruhdazi, and his very aggressive Spikes, Arrow, Celebi playstyle that he's very known for. So real quick, if you've been enjoying the tournament, consider donating. There is a link in the description to do so, and please hit the like button for this video. Let's get into the action. It's game one, Krystyl's on the bottom, and Shitrock Enjoyer, Fruhdazi, is on top. Zap on Zap, T-Wave, and Protect. Fair enough. Oh, I'm sorry, that was a light screen. It looked like a Protect. It was a light screen. So, looking like a stallier team, actually, for Fruhdazi. Okay, well, the Boom is going to kill with the one-hit KO without any boost or whatever, so we'll never know. That might have been a CB meta, that might have been a weird EV, YOLO Skarm, something like that, but one layer is all it's going to be. Here comes Double Edge, which is interesting. Usually with screens into Double Edge, this reminds me immediately of teams that Mana would run, where the whole thing is to set up the T-Tower that double edges itself into whatever pinch berry, usually Lychee, and then you just kind of try to sweep from there. Looks like Kristyl came prepared with not one but two Rock Resists in the Meta and the Swampert. They're going to exchange Toxics here, and we'll see if either one has Refresh. If it matters, the faster Swampert seemingly belongs to Kristyl, and they both, in fact, have Refresh, so Toxic is not going to be the winning game plan here. There's Protect, and there is Surf. We might be looking at Monopert on Monopert, which is not exactly a riveting matchup. Here comes Zapdos, and it does just eat a Surf in a 5-5 game with many unrevealed pokes, and there is still the one Spike down, which currently there's no way to remove, but Kristyl hasn't even revealed half her team, so she totally could have a spinner. Not going to be Clay at all on this team, but there could be a Starmie in the back. Time will tell. Hidden Power and Toxic, respectively. Bulky Zapdos, that's why it's only doing 60%, and it's also a bulky Pert. Sometimes Mono Pert invests somewhat, a little bit, into special defense. I don't know if Fruhdazi did or not, but it's not unheard of. And we end up Zap on Zap here as it comes into a T-Bolt. There is sand in this game, so the damage does matter and does stick. Toxic, however, is still ticking down on Kristyl Zapdos. And that's an over-prediction HP Grass, thinking the Swampert will come in. It does not, but it'll be good enough regardless. The Toxic will take it out, and the lead in Game 1 belongs to Fruhdazi, now a 5-4 briefly, before Ice Beam Revenge makes it 4-4. We end up Tower on Tower. They both have a Swampert, they both have a Tower, and they both have Unreveals. They actually have very similar teams thus far. EQ and DD respectively. Here comes Arrow, thinking it'll be an Earthquake, and that is correct. Kristyl very well may be faster here. We end up Arrow on Arrow. Hidden Power, that's going to be Flying rather than Bug. Decent chunk, but not remarkable. They have very, very similar teams. Double Edge there. Going to be resisted by Tower. Going to stay in and go for it again regardless. Ice Beam a lot, but not enough to kill. Double Edge here would kill, so Kristyl has to get out of the way. She goes to her own Aerodactyl. 43% from DE. Will always live another one if it's a non-crit. She's going to also go for DE. The T-Tower will not die to that, again, pending a crit. Double Edge happens now for Fruhdazi. A lot of double edging in this game. Waiting on the item. It does just have lefties. Double Edge again. And now Surf, fair enough. Fast and Furious, back and forth, back and forth. 3-3 now. Full team revealed for Fruhdazi. Last poke Rachi. Last poke Dugtrio immediately checking it. Hidden Power Grass there, however, is going to delete Dugtrio before it does a damn thing. And this is looking like a reasonable game one for Fruhdazi, but it's going to be close. Rock Slide takes out the arrow. 2-on-2 situation. It's locked on Rock Slide, so Jirachi here with an opportunity. It does flinch, however. Swampert comes down into something that he knows has Hidden Power Grass. That's going to be a little bit tricky. Thunder blanks, and then, okay, there's Hidden Power on the switchback. Good move for Kristyl. Threatening the EQ, and that's exactly what it is. 36% on the Mono Pert. Even after Protect, it should be in range to where she can finish it off. But can the Jirachi take Fruhdazi to the promised land? Double Protect here makes it interesting. The last EQ did 36. It's now at 35. It may or may not survive, and it does. And that is going to leave Kristyl in a tough, tough spot, and she knows it, and she is going to concede. It's going to be Fruhdazi eking out a close game one that could have gone either way, and there is a little bit of chit-chat after the game. Kristyl thinking that she should have won that game. Flinched Rachi while I grasped, says Fruhdazi. A little bit of chit-chat back and forth. Doesn't seem steamy. Maybe just a little bit of frustration or annoyance, which is a part of Mons, but we've got a full series to play out. Game one does not necessarily mean anything. I mean, it means Fruhdazi's in the lead, but obviously Kristyl can come back here, so we'll jump right into game two. The player's going to stay in the same positions. Kristyl going to be on the bottom, and Fruhdazi, Shitrock Enjoyer on the top. Lead Aerodactyl, Behe style. And yeah, he's going to call a bluff. He's going to stay in and be like, all right, show me. And indeed, Kristyl shows him. She's got the immediate Hidden Power fighting and deletes the Tar just like that. And now the Rachi's gone to an immediate Dugtrio Earthquake as well. This is a disaster just 3 turns in for Fruhdazi. Kristyl feels miles and miles ahead and looking like she's going to send us to a third game. Hidden Power Fire coming down. Thief, no more lefties for Celebi. Sure, that's cute, but still have to deal with this guy. Now granted, even if it kills the Skarm there and went for Psychic rather than HP Fire so it doesn't kill, but even if you do that, the Dugtrio is in the back and is just going to click HP Bug, so it's just going to be a trade at the end of the day. That's exactly what we're going to see here. Skarm is going to go down to the Hidden Power Fire, but the Bug Retaliation, and just 8 turns in, Fruhdazi has lost half of his team. Machamp here, not what I was expecting in the back, is going to have to make some headway. Cross Chop there. Fishing for that high critical hit ratio, does not get it on the first attempt. Not playing games with CM, just going blow for blow. Surf and Cross Chop respectively, they do comparable damage. The Machamp, of course, slower than the Suicune. And here comes Claydol, anticipating another Cross Chop. Registeel in the back. I have no clue what the F this team is for Fruhdazi. But counter there is going to swing and miss. And now Blissey in the back for Kristyl. Full teams all of a sudden are revealed for both players. Salamence does have leftovers. Now Registeel comes in again. Immediately hit by Wave. Not really any good switch to that. I guess you could have activated Guts for Machamp, but it doesn't really love being paralyzed and coming in on the spike. And it's a game with sand, so all the damage matters. They're going to go blow for blow. The Registeel very well may just have rest here. Just kidding. It's got Boom, but it is so underwhelming it doesn't actually kill the Blissey, even with the sand. The Mence follow-up should be able to get her. And indeed, Kristyl stays in, probably to click Wave or Ice Beam again to make sure the Mence doesn't get cute. Aerodactyl comes in as the follow-up, and there is not really a good option here for Fruhdazi. Dodging the Rock Slide, I guess, is a good option that I didn't consider, but nevertheless, the arrow is a big threat in this game state. Cross Chop just short, but sand will be enough. However, nothing preventing the Aerodactyl from coming back in, and that is exactly what happens. Double Edge takes out the Champ, and yeah, it's going to have to be an immediate Dragon Dance from Mence if it even has that, and then you're just going to have to get there. You're going to need either a crit or a flinch here, or you are almost certainly about to get boomed on. There is the Hidden Power. A crit would have been good enough, but it does not come, and the boom is going to take out the Mence and send us to a Game 3. Kristyl going to get the W on this one. Now, Fruhdazi did make a pretty good comeback. He was so ridiculously far behind in just the first 3 or so turns. A disaster start for Fruhdazi, but he made it interesting at the end, almost made the comeback, but Kristyl was able to hang on to that lead and send us to a third game. So here we are, third and final. Like I said, it's round 1, so if you lose here, you just go to lower bracket. You are not eliminated. but obviously you want to start the tournament off with a W and try to get 2 wins in a row and then get that 3rd round bye. But one thing at a time. Let's get the W here in round 1. Kristyl versus Fruhdazi, game 3. Flygon lead and Salamence lead, respectively. Weird matchup, both potentially threatening to each other, neither one comfortable with it, and Kristyl gets the better end by getting Zapdos in on Skarm. However, Fruhdazi, Balls of Steel, stays in the face of the Zapdos, and immediately spikes up. Does get his lefty stolen by his counterpart with Thief. However, 2 layers versus 0 as far as spikes, and for a 2nd game in a row, Fruhdazi is going to bust out the Registeel, which is interesting. And now Titar. A Superman team, it looks like, for Kristyl. Skarm going to eat a Fire Blast. Obviously has a lot of special defense in order to take it that well. And she's going to get her own spikes down. Layer number 1. Roar doesn't show us anything new. Titar, as we know, has Fire Blast, so got to be careful about that. Here comes Zapdos, thinking that's what it'll be. And that's what it is. A fortunate burn for Fruhdazi. Zapdos probably has rest on this structure, but nevertheless, don't want to be burnt there. Does go for rest, and we'll see if there's something other than Fire Blast. Yep, it is Crunch, which actually does comparable damage here. Fishing for a Specs drop, doesn't get it. Goes for Crunch again. And same deal. Decent damage, no drop. On we go. Here comes Blissey in the back. It is Crunch yet again. Just 13% this time. Unclear if it's got any physical attacks or not. Now we know that it does. Switches it up to Brick Break. Kristyl went for S-Toss there to make sure a Focus Punch doesn't happen. And it should be a free soft-boiled here, but she's afraid of the Brick Break. Yeah, I mean, I guess the damage there, depending on the roll, could have killed it. So, good prediction there for both. Here comes Wish. 3 layers of spikes. That Blissey is going to have a hard time coming back unless it gets roared out here. That would actually be a really good roar for Kristyl because she doesn't really have a great way to heal the Blissey if not for something like that. Aerodactyl in the back is going to threaten the Zapdos. Doubles back, however, to Salamence, clearly anticipating a switch, and it is Jirachi. Certainly something you could EQ or Fire Blast against, depending on what kind of Mence you are. And it is Fire Blast from what is seemingly a mixed Mence. Protect happened there. Fire Blast a ton, 67%, and it is going to be a Floating Wish, and almost certainly a Protect turn here. And it is just Brick Break, knowing that the Protect was coming and not wanting to waste the valuable and limited Fire Blast PP. Here comes another attempt, 64% this time, and a burn. That is the 2nd Fire Blast burn that Fruhdazi has managed to get in this game. Very obnoxious for Kristyl, and she even makes a comment on it. She is less than thrilled with the burn. And yeah, I mean, I get it. Her back is against the wall. This mixed Mence is an issue. There's 3 layers of spikes down. There's been some luck on the other side. Not a ton she can do, and the Jirachi is going to drop. Fruhdazi with the first knockout on turn 23 in this game, turn 24 rather, and it is a 6-5 situation. Critical hit now for Kristyl and a para, so now she gets some luck. That was a pretty fortunate turn for her. Can she follow up on it? Here comes Mystery Bus, blanking Seismic Toss. So full-blown Superman here for her. She's going to go for T-Bolt, just 11%. That is underwhelming, but full power makes it so Fruhdazi doesn't do anything. Here comes Titar, and it is just Thunderbolt again, just 16%. That is not exciting damage by any means. Goes for the pullback and gets pursued, 51%. Still an unrevealed in the back for Fruhdazi as well. Thunderbolt coming down 36, and another para, so the luck is starting to turn around a little bit. 2 burns for Fruhdazi, but 2 Thunderbolt paras now for Kristyl. She does manage to kill the Titar in this way, and we end up with a 5-5, but again, still a hidden poke in the back, and all those spikes are down. Now granted, only the Blissey is vulnerable to it, so the spikes are now actually irrelevant as the Blissey goes down. All 4 of the remaining pokes do not care about it with their flying, typing, or levitate ability respectively. Rock Slide, trying to get a flinch or a miss there, but it is not to be. The Toxic does land on the Flygon, but gonna let it go. And here it is, it's Machamp again, so very similar, if not the exact same team from the game before for Fruhdazi, and gonna try to bulk up and punch through the Mystery Bus. As long as it has a move that can hit it, that is probably going to be an effective strategy. Hidden Power Ghost is certainly among the moves that can hit it, and that's going to leave us in a 3-4 with Fruhdazi in the lead. Here comes the Zapdos follow-up. T-Bolt, 42%. Dodges Rock Slide there. That is critical. That would have certainly, with the +1, killed the Zapdos there. So a crucial dodge for Kristyl, leaving us in a 3-3. The Aerodactyl follow-up now. Rock Slide. She stays in, and down goes the Zapdos. Flygon does resist Rock, but it's still poisoned from before. Another dodge, though. Wow. Wow. No complaining about luck. Dodge the Rock Slide, kill with your Rock Slide. What a turn of events. Rock Slide now. Okay, doesn't get the flinch or the crit that she was looking for. There is Dragon Claw. Fruhdazi should still win this game. Needs to not miss Fire Blast, and does not. And indeed, the Skarm goes down. GG's, says Fruhdazi. I guess, says Kristyl. Which demonstrates exactly how these players feel about how this went down. But I thought that the luck towards the end of this, I mean, again, I'm just watching it for the first time in real time, and it's pretty fast. I'd have to rewatch it a little bit slower. Maybe I'd have a different opinion, but at a glance, I felt like the luck kind of sort of evened out as we went along. Yes, there were multiple burns. Yes, they mattered, but there were also multiple pairs. There was the dodge, whatever. I feel like it kind of went both ways towards the end. Kristyl obviously doesn't see it that way. She seems pretty frustrated, but I thought that the hacks kind of evened themselves out. Regardless, the outcome is what it is, and it is a 2-1 victory for Fruhdazi. He's going to be in the upper bracket, and Kristyl, who, like I said, I have the utmost respect and appreciation for, is going to start this tournament in the lower bracket. Again, I appreciate you guys watching. YouTube.com/CallusNarrates if you want to check out my content. Hit the like button, and I will see you guys in the next video.